Hi there, Rebecca Koffler with Censored but Not Silenced. I'd like to give you all my analysis on the breaking news about the Biden administration accusing Putin and the Russians about, and I quote, sustaining efforts to interfere in 2024 U.S. elections. So here we go again. Also, at the same time, the intelligence community has come out with the following assessment, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim. It's important to understand the nuances here, and then I will give you my analysis. As a lot of you know, I'm a former DIA intelligence officer. DIA is the Defense Intelligence Agency, military counterpart to the CIA. In other words, we do the real work. So here comes a quote. The intelligence community continues to assess that Putin actually backs a Trump presidency, which is consistent with findings of Russian interference in the 2016 and the 2020 elections, in which the DNI found Russian government organization conducted influence operations aimed at denigrating President Biden's candidacy and the Democratic Party, supporting former President Trump, undermining public confidence in the electoral process, and exacerbating socio-political divisions in the U.S. End of quote. So for those who don't know, DNI stands for Director of National Intelligence, which is sort of a super entity that is above the entire U.S. intelligence community, which at this point, and I've lost count already, it's about 18 agencies right now, but the top major ones are CIA, DIA, NSA, which is the National Security Agency, which does all of the communication intercepts, phone, email, used to be fax, etc. And then we've got the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigations, and these are the top one. Okay, well, let me tell you what is correct and what is incorrect in the U.S. intelligence community's assessment. Yes, it is true that the Russians traditionally target U.S. elections for interference. They do it every single time. It's part of their election sabotage doctrine, but they do it for a very different reason than the intelligence community believes it does, or it wants us, the American people, to believe that they do. So the Russians do not prefer Trump as president. That's a whole another story. First, I'm going to say to you my assessment, and the intelligence community's assessment that I just read to you is dead wrong. I believe it's dead wrong. It was wrong with regard to Russia's position on U.S. elections in 2016. It was wrong in 2020, and it is dead wrong today. At best, it is due to incompetence. Having served in the intelligence community, I can tell you that there are very few people who have expertise, like true deep expertise in the Russian target, who understand how the Russians think. And believe it or not, the Russians don't think like Americans. Big surprise, right? Neither do the Chinese or Iranians. The Russians think like the Russians, the Chinese think like the Chinese, and that is a big deal. And if you can't understand how your target thinks, you can't possibly make an accurate assessment. Okay, so again, there are very few people who speak Russian who actually have been to Russia. And can make accurate analytic judgment about what's going on. Because when it comes to intelligence, you get, again, intelligence does not come in Russian or in Chinese. I'm sorry, intelligence does not come in English, right? It comes in when you get a phone call intercept, the National Security Agency does. It comes in Russian. So on the Russian target and Chinese, when you collect it from Chinese officials, and then you have to translate it. But in order to translate, you don't translate word for word, right? You have to really understand when people are talking about something. It's just like, imagine like when a doctor talks to a doctor and they're using all that lingo. A lay person has no idea typically, or it's very difficult to accurately understand what the doctors are discussing. So the same in foreign languages. And so yes, so a lot of incompetence in the community, but at worst. So, and just one more thing on that. Why is that? It's because because it's the government, right? The intelligence community is still the government. And when you go to a DMV, like when you deal with those people, what you're dealing with, right? It's the same thing. They couldn't get a job anywhere else. And again, it's not everyone. There's many honorable officers, honest, but a lot of them are incompetent, especially the higher the higher you get into the management rank, then the lesser your expertise is. And so there's the whole attitude in the government is that you don't really need to be an expert in anything. Today, the attitude is you're deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. Tomorrow you come back and all of a sudden you are a Russia expert or China expert, or a space warfare or cyber warfare expert. That's how they roll, right? And and with the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was a lot of attrition of brain drain in terms of Russia expertise. So at best, that's incompetence. At worst, it is actually intentional that the intelligence community right now, that we are just a couple of months away from the election, is coming out and again, it's telling us that, the Russians want Trump. Well, we all know what happened back in 2016, right? The whole Russia-Trump collusion, it was a hoax. I was back in the intelligence community at that time. The hoax was created by the top officials in the spy agencies in the Obama administration. Specifically, the DNI Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, the FBI Director, James Comey, and John Brennan, the CIA Director. They supervised or signed off on this so-called intelligence community assessment that was produced. The unclassified version was produced on January 6, 2017, and that assessment was fed. And but we all know today, I hope you do, that it was all debunked. It was debunked, and I actually included it in my book, the Putin's Playbook, Russia's Secret Plan to Defeat America. It was basically the Trump people didn't even, or the Russians rather, didn't even have anyone within the Trump circle. After Trump won, they were scrambling, the Russians, to get access to start like building diplomatic rapport and diplomatic ties and those sorts of things. So it's all very well documented. And here we go again, right? They want us to believe that the Russians support Trump. Nothing can be further from the truth. The Russians actually don't try to elect a specific person. They know they have no power to do that. They know that it's the American voters who decide who's going to be president. And so their actual goal, and it's all part of the doctrine, and the reason, and how do I know what I'm telling you? I'm telling you because, again, that was my target in the intelligence community, and I understand the doctrine, and I still, to this day, I try to help the U.S. government make sense in my capacity as an independent analyst. But sometimes they go with what they want to go with, right? So the doctrine is, the Russian doctrine of election sabotage is they target both sides, right? They target both the Democrats and the Republicans because they know they can't actually swing the votes, and they never actually change the votes after the votes casted. the Russians have no capability. Yes, they do try to conduct cyber intrusions in those servers in the voting infrastructure. They do try to interfere, but to make us believe that they have that capability. The reason is they want to sow down in the Americans' confidence in the integrity of our elections. They haven't changed a single vote. Okay, that's the result of the investigations that have been done by U.S. government on election interference by the Russians. So they target both sides. And in 2016, they targeted the DNC servers and the RNC servers. The RNC service cybersecurity was more robust, so they hacked into DNC. They released some information on Clinton, but at the same time, they were targeting through social media the Trump campaign as well. The same thing they're doing today. What is the objective here? The objective is, and here comes another term for you, it is the Russian doctrine of controlled instability. They want to foment social unrest in America. Why is that? They believe, and they're correct in what I'm about to say, is that the United States tries to support democracy in Russia, support opposition, or at least we have tried, right, through various non-governmental institutions. There were certain unrest or protests when Putin won his second round, that Putin has changed the constitution to make sure that he can run endlessly, right, to become Russia's president, because he believes that he's the only one who can rule Mother Russia, quote unquote, here. So, and some of these protests were a result of U.S. support, specifically Victoria Nuland, who's in the State Department under President Obama. She's big on that democratizing, whether it's Russia, Ukraine. So the Russians want to give us a taste of our own medicine. When they meddle in our elections, they want to create conditions for that social unrest. That is the reason. And so either the intelligence community doesn't understand that, or it doesn't want to understand it because it wants to throw victory to Kamala Harris. In other words, it is the spy agencies, the Biden-Harris administration spy agencies that are trying to intervene in 2024 elections. That is the bottom line here, okay? So if you like my analysis, if you find it interesting, please follow me on various social media, Twitter, Getter, True Social, at Rebecca0132, and continue to listen to my podcast, Censored but Not Silent. Thank you, and I'll catch you later.